Hi, I'm Allwyn Sequeira, VP and CTO for VMware here at RSA 2012. I'm here with Chris Hoff, Uber, Twitter, blogger, and Mr. Know-It-All with respect to the InfoSec space, deeply involved with a bunch of folks. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks, Alan.
Chris, you and I were here a year ago at RSA. A lot has happened since then. Give us your perspective on what you've seen happen.
So I think you can't swing a dead cat without hearing two words, APT and cloud. Sometimes they're put together, so cloud APT. So there's been a lot of high-profile breaches, a lot of very interesting things surrounding hacktivism and activism, really bringing information security and the impacts of failures in information security to light. So we've seen, technological advances, really interesting cultural implications, really interesting political and geopolitical activity taking place that's starting to really catalyze the way in which people think about how they practice security.
Sounds to me like the problems are getting harder and harder, the breaches keep increasing, people spend more and they are more defenseless than ever before. Do you see this as a problem that can be solved? Is it something that you see anything out there helping resolve?
So I think a couple of very interesting things are starting to occur where another big buzzword that I failed to mention was big data. I don't, but security is very much a big data problem when you boil it down, right? We have tons and tons of isolated islands of telemetry and kind of unaligned sets of data points. And so when we look at what cloud computing and big data, and more specifically the underpinnings, automation and intelligence are starting to bring to security, I think we have an opportunity to leverage some of this new technology to make better decisions in smaller time frames with better efficacy. And what I hope we'll see more of this year is leveraging technology, not for security's sake, but to solve some of the problems that otherwise we've had these kind of islands of, or centers of excellence as we call them, but islands of segregation between how functionally we operationalize security. So I'm looking forward to seeing what some of these new technologies bring to us.
I just came up here from the Cloud Security Alliance. On the one hand, you have a set of folks who are pushing for movement to the cloud, and cloud is beginning to happen. CISOs today in enterprise are under siege, as we just talked about. Do you believe they have the time, the wherewithal to focus on moving assets into the cloud where they can barely protect assets within enterprises today?
I think I would suggest that perhaps that's the thing they should focus most on. The reason I say that is if you take the fundamental premise of public clouds, services wherein you don't actually have direct operational control over the infrastructure, whether you're infrastructure, platform, or software as a service. We kind of take the notion and construct that, imagine you took your most critical asset on a host of some sort, you plugged it directly in the internet. How would you re-envisage what you, or how you operationalize security? What would you do differently that would uncouple you from perhaps traditions or best practices that you've been doing for no particularly good reason? In fact, the notion we've argued back and forth, the industry has, that cloud is, you can get better security, or no, cloud is horrible for security. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. I think what cloud computing and these breaches that we're talking about suffering are starting to do is really, again, getting folks to focus on the things that matter most. So if you take your most important data, your most important applications, and you think about how they would operate outside of your ability to affect control by putting normal infrastructure in place, we have a good chance of moving the ball forward. If we continue to kind of think in ways of we're going to draw that perimeter at the edge, yep. I think we're going backwards. So yeah, the time constraints, the budget pressures, all of that stuff is difficult, but I think if you don't make the time, you're going to get squashed.
One last question, Chris. You and I have known each other a long time, and we've always been fascinated with innovative trends. What do you see out there? Any new innovation, new companies, things that are on your radar screen?
Yeah, so we're actually giving a talk, Rich Mogul and I, here about that particular topic on some very interesting new applications of maybe some old ideas but new ways. So folks like Cloud Passage for distributed security management across multiple clouds, very interesting. Dome 9, again, solving another interesting security problem from the perspective of management. You got folks that are really starting to focus on how do you deal with data security spread out now, not only on the cloud, your data center and mobile footprints like Porticore. Juniper, company I work for, just actually acquired a really interesting, unique web intrusion deception solution, which does some very interesting things both in cloud and enterprise. So I think what we're starting to see is how can we leverage these very dynamic, very diverse, and very scalable architectures in cloud to do things with security that we haven't been able to do before. You walk around the floor, we're going to see a bunch of them.
Yep. Well, Chris, good talking to you as usual. Exciting times. The landscape is more different than ever before. Thanks again, and see you next year at 2013
That's right.
RSA.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.